It is time for your WIN podcast for super busy professionals sharing transformational moments. Your host, Chu Tang.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to your WIN podcast. Today, I have my friend, very special guest, Alan Stevens. Welcome, Alan.
Thanks very much, Stu. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Alan, would you describe a scene or a moment in your life that you experienced something that transformed your life forever?
Well, looking at my life, there have been lots of those situations that have done that. I've been nudged into a different direction by a lot of events, but one of the major ones would have been going through my second separation, second divorce. And my second wife had talked me into becoming a massage therapist. She used to teach aromatherapy and massage. And so I became a massage therapist. But when we broke up, I put that on hold. And through a couple of friends continually nagging me to get my table out and give them a massage, I finally did. And at that point, they talked me into getting back into massage again. And when I opened my rooms up, I started getting people coming to me who were terminally ill, things like cancer or being on the transplant list for new kidneys and things. But the weirdest thing was that while I was working with them, my massage had completely changed because the events in my life had got me looking at things differently. And some of those people were actually changing, their medical condition was changing. Some of them were reversing their conditions with cancer. They were going to a herbalist who was then sending the people to me. And I'd take them through a massage process using NLP, taking them through what they'd been through, using color therapy, sound therapies, aromatherapies.
Wow.
And for me, that was totally bizarre. And it was because of my second wife. She was doing her dietetics degree at university when I met her. And she introduced me to an Aboriginal group. Well, many years later, I needed answers to what was going on with this massage because I was a remedial masseuse, so a technical masseuse. And all of a sudden, there was something that was happening that was a bit too esoteric for me as far as to understand it. It was right out there. It was very strange. So through a chance meeting, I met an Aboriginal elder who then introduced me back to the same group that I'd met through my second wife. And I got invited to go out bush, and I was put through a test on the first night that I was there just to test me out. And then I got invited back. It was going to be every month, but then every week to learn about Aboriginal law, Aboriginal culture. And through that process, this was when I was about 49 years old. When I turned 50, they invited me to go through my initiation. So from boyhood into manhood. So what you would do with a 14-year-old Aboriginal boy, taking him from that boyhood and teaching him how to become a man, I went through that when I was 50. Wow. And that was the beginning of my journey completely changing, because I went from I'd worked with our national telephone carrier for 22 years before I'd left them. I'd been working as a finance broker. I'd been working in the building industry, the finance industry, and then finally now into the health industry. And so everything I've done in the past was very into the material world.
Right.
All of a sudden now I'm into something which is quite a spiritual world. And that was a big change for me. The first 50 years of my life, I was focused on building relationships for me. Once that all happened, I then started looking at things differently. I created a group called the Campfire Project, which is a safe place originally for men, but also now for women, to come along and tell their stories about the things they've been through in their life that never had the courage to talk to anybody else about before. And then join panel discussions talking about how to improve society.
Right.
And through that, I've got more close relationships than I've ever had before. But I did it without trying to build the relationships. I'd spent the first 50 years trying to get my own relationships working, which didn't work. The next 20 years now, I've been working on helping other people to build their relationships. And the byproduct of that is I've got more relationships than I ever had before in my life.
Wow.
So I learned something important, that when you help other people, you focus on doing the best for other people, it always comes back. And this was a big life lesson for me in the whole process. So I realized I'd learned a lot from the Aboriginals, but from what I learned would be a handful of sand compared to what they know, which would be a massive beach. And so I've got this little bit of knowledge from them, but what I learned the most was love, humility, and respect of other people. Yeah. Those things really changed my life. And so being able to then spend time with other people, listen to their stories with a focus on listening to them, not listening to respond, but listening to understand. And through that, my relationships have completely changed in my life, and my whole way I do things is completely changed. I'm happier now than I've ever been before, simply because, as they say, when you do things for yourself, that will die with you. But when you do things for others and for the community, it is and always will be eternal.
Yes.
It's more rewarding when you've got people around you. Just trying to look after yourself and be out there all the time it's not really very rewarding, and it's a lonely place to be. But by helping other people and being part of a community, we're never alone. Time is, all of our time is always spent joyfully, and we have value. We feel that we contribute, that we belong, that we've got a place. And so I think that's one of the biggest changes for me, was to realize that having that close connection to other people and supporting them just because it's the right thing to do and I really enjoy it. You can't light someone else's path without lighting your own. So when you help other people and you help them to have a more joyful life, your life is going to be a lot more joyful as well. Wow. And the lessons that I've learned through that time.
Wow. Alan, last year was my first of that 20 years I'm going to have. Because before that, I was just living for myself. So last year is the first year that I start, building a relationship and helping people. And so I have a long way to go.
Well, you're much younger than me, so you've got plenty of time to get there. So, but
wow.
I'm in my 70s now, but the message I like to put out to people is start looking at things now. Don't wait until because then you'll look back at all those years that you've lost and you think, well, I could have done those better. I don't begrudge all the things I did in the past, because I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't been through all those things. So I appreciate all of that. I can look at the past relationships I've had and look at the past partners, even the ex-2 wives, with compassion and caring and love, without having any animosity or anything else towards them, because we all play our part in those relationships. And so I always look at how do I improve myself before I worry about whether anybody else is, up to scratch, so to speak. It's all about making sure that you're the best person you can be for yourself. Therefore, you'll be the best person for other people as well. As long as you're looking at, I think a lot of the esoterics will say, is it good for you? Is it good for the other person? Is it good for the planet? If you take that approach, then you're always connected to other people. If you're just doing it just to be good for yourself, at everybody else's expense, it's a pretty lonely place to be. And you're always got to be on your toes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Alan. I learned so much from this very short podcast.
Well, as you can see, I can talk.
It's like you said, humility. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah, love. Yeah. So thank you. And you guys enjoyed this episode, please come back. And until then, stay happy and hopeful.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share. See you soon at Your Win Podcast.